Jai Hind and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. The United States of America running from pillar to post. That's what everybody would think. Fighting fires, fighting wars, fighting economies, and fighting their own issues within. But when you look at the USA, there seems to be a grand strategy that they're following, if they are following a grand strategy. And to figure out, are they following a grand strategy or is it just winged by the moment? I have with me Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar. So, on the precursor, this has not been spoken about by pretty much anyone with regards to the big picture of what the US wants to do within itself, within the world, and its adversaries.
Yeah, good evening, Adi. Thanks for calling me over for the show. It's a new prospect you put across as to what is USA's new game plan, the larger game plan. It's interesting that we need to understand it. My view is they had some idea about what they're going to do. How it is getting executed is a different matter. That would change. But I think they're going as per a particular game plan. So we can start the whole.
I think what you mentioned is a very, very good bottom line, sir, because for a lot of people who are following the events around the world, they would say that the USA is faltering within what they're doing. That might be so. And what you mentioned is that the execution may be a totally different story. We're just trying to see what the strategy was, what is their thought process. So, a declining superpower with whatever's happening in the world, one realizes the fight is not gone. I mean, there's still a lot of punch that the USA carries by itself. I want to open up the discussion by talking about the US's ability to self-correct. I mean, there have been so many mistakes that the US can be attributed to, but history tells us USA society has this weird, uncanny ability to kind of self-correct, criticize its own self, and move forward.
Yeah, I think that's a very important aspect of USA which many people miss out. USA has faced a lot of problems, and after every problem or every setback, it has come back. It has reinvented itself and come back. Right? You talk of the time from Vietnam War. It recovered from the loss of the Vietnam War. Right? Then you look at the time the Twin Towers came down, recovered again and came back up. You go back in time, the depression of the 30s, 35, they again came back. Within 10 years, they were the preeminent economic power in the world by the time the World War broke out, Second World War. Then you look at the 2008 depression, that crash and all that. Again, they reinvented themselves to get back on top. So, writing off USA has its huge risks. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that in a hurry. The fact that it is declining, yes, and that decline is only relative. It's not an actual decline. Every time USA appears to decline, there's a reinvention of its processes, there's a reinvention of its military, there's a reinvention of everything. And it comes out with something new. So will it come out with something new at this point of time? Is a question mark. Okay, is it only military? Is it societal? Is it societal come military come financial or economic? Is a issue which is not going to get resolved overnight. It's going to take time. But at this point of time, it is still the reigning superpower. Look, it's got 600 military bases all over the world. It's not a small, thing. We're talking of China, which has got one at Djibouti, and it is trying to get another. That's all. Okay, so there's a huge difference between the military gap is huge. People don't realize it. Okay, so let's talk. I think there are more interesting questions you have.
So you mentioned the challenges. There's I think every person who's probably even starting into international affairs will be able to write an essay on the challenges facing the US. It's wide in the open. There's shootings, there's economy, there's overprinting of money, There's just so much which is happening within the country itself, and not to even mention a active war and another brewing conflict sort of a thing in the east with China. How do you see the challenges first and foremost in front of the US? What all do you think are the first challenges, and how do you see them kind of, you know, even attempting a course correction to address these challenges?
See, they came across two challenges, one after the other. I mean, virtually in quick succession last year. First was the election of Biden, or rather Trump's effort at, you know, overturning that election. And that led to a lot of problems.
Hmm.
Societal problems have come up. Uh, then that Black Lives Matter, which is thrown up its own issues. Then the withdrawal from Afghanistan. All these three happened in one go. As a result, there is a feeling that America is on the decline. But from then to now, while the sense of decline is there, I see a sense of order coming into their system. I see them doing things with a purpose. They're pretty focused. I mean, at that point, it was also said that they're ceding to China, and China will any day overtake them. That we should be very clear won't happen in the next 3 to 4 years in a hurry. Okay, China itself has got into a mess. See, everything in life is relative. I'm in a problem, you're in a problem, who's in a bigger problem? The guy with a lesser problem is the winner. So China has got into its own problems. At that point, China was happy. America has consolidated. It's not committed anywhere in a war. It might be assisting Ukraine, but there are no troops dying. There's no physical commitment. And they've caught Russia by the short hairs. They've reconsolidated Europe to look towards them. They also, the sanctions might not have worked. That we all knew that the sanctions will never work, but they have focused on China, and they focused on China at a time when China was the weakest internally, and they've got Cod. Cod has got a new life. In the past 2 years, if you see, Cod has come of age. They've got an economic forum. They've got maritime domain awareness. All these were not there earlier. So there is some akar coming into, that shape coming into Cod. Okay. So USA is somewhere there. I will not say it is getting troubled. It's getting troubled. It's declining, maybe. But is it down and out? Not by any stretch of imagination.
Essentially, what you're trying to say is that it being challenged by two major powers, which is Russia and China, it's basically trying to handle both of them at an opportune moment where it thinks it can actually take advantage of the situation and maintain a certain parity amongst the world with regards to its unipolar status?
Look, at the beginning of the year, we all felt when this no holds barred relationship between China and Russia were being forced, they'll get together and they'll be able to sort out USA. But I feel that when Russia went into Ukraine, it overcommitted itself. Okay, they were provoked into going into Ukraine to some extent. They went in. Maybe USA didn't see the opportunity at that point of time, but the moment it saw the opportunity, it seized. And now Russia is stuck in a long war. It's going to hit the Russian economy hard. It's going to hit the Russian military power hard. I'm not talking of the immediate battlefield military power, the long-term implications. The sanctions are there. The sanctions might not be effective against Russia, but they seem to have had some salutary effect on China. because China is more integrated with the US economy. And as a result of which, China is a little wary about taking that friendship to the next level. Because if USA swings into action, China might get hurt. Okay, so we'll talk of China separately. So Russia is caught. So instead of China and Russia being together, they are in some kind of a nebulous problem. Russia is caught. It's not going to go off so easily. Even if it wins, even if it declares a victory tomorrow, it's going to be a long time before Russia is going to be seen by anyone. And then China is now in the process.
That, I mean, I actually was trying to note down certain highlights that you mentioned. Now, what actually I have noted is something very, very unique that you mentioned is that they have put in Russia into a place. I mean, Russia may win militarily, and that's what you. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a no forgone secret. They're going to take
yeah,
whatever they want to do
yeah.
militarily.
What?
But it's going to take them time to recover out of that. So there's no.
Forget recovery. They're in a hybrid conflict for a long time to come. So Russia is stuck. Its recovery economically and reasserting itself in the world of stage is going to take a long time. They're not going to be in a hurry.
So, and Russia is there, and now what we've done is we've now tried to refocus ourselves into the main threat, which is in the east, in the
China.
Indo-Pacific.
No, they have already done it.
Yeah.
They've already done it.
By the Quad,
Look, they've
by the whole
already done it.
meetings. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, everything they've already done it, and they've caught China when China is at its weakest in the recent history, and China is isolated. There are no allies to China. You see,
a lot of people might say that why are you picking up two enemies and two of the biggest enemies at the same time? But
look, they've done whatever you say, whichever way you say, they've done it, and they're doing it quite successfully. The way I look at it, look, there might be many contra views to what I'm saying, but my view is that they have, if not split their adversaries, they've ensured that they cannot get together beyond a point. Okay.
I think that is something that we need to reconcile with regards.
And they fixed one adversary for a long time. At least for the next 5 to 6 years, Russia is in the cold. Russia has to survive for the next 5 to 6 years before it can recover.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the EU and that entire segment before we get into the East, sir. EU has a huge challenge amongst themselves. I mean, they've got a slowing economy. The sanctions are backfiring. Aging population. They'll have to spend a lot more on the military. So, but they are ready to do it. The focus is there, and they're trying to figure out a way to build up the funds to do it. So here is a situation where the EU itself is going to militarily hold Russia in its place. Am I reading you correctly, sir?
Yeah. Look, with Sweden and Finland joining NATO, things have changed completely. Completely, right? Okay, what Russia didn't want has happened. NATO has come to its borders. I mean, many people don't understand geography, but Sweden has got a maritime boundary with Russia. Okay, so you got NATO on your doorstep. Ukraine is in a nebulous kind of a situation. The moment Russia is on the doorstep of EU and Europe, everyone will say, okay, USA is my leader. Let's go. Because only USA has the military capability to handle Russia, even now.
So let's dig a little deeper into this NATO alliance. So you've got a lot of friction within NATO as well. Turkey and Greece have a problem. Turkey and the rest of them have a problem.
All these things are there. There will be problems. There are problems within EU. You said aging society. They don't want to fight. They can't fight. They don't have weapons. Their armies are not equipped. Nothing. But fundamentally, all of them are together. And there's the Russian, the US force is still there.
Yeah.
After all, they have a European command. They have an Atlantic Command, which is there. The NATO is still there, and NATO has a bare minimum set of forces, and whatever forces NATO has are on the alert after this Russian invasion. So militarily they are there. I mean, what you're talking, sanctions not working, they have to take gas, democracies, problems, one chap says this, one chap says that, all that is there. But NATO is still on the ball.
I think what I am mentioning is a more tactical angle of this entire situation. You're talking about a larger strategic picture.
I'm looking at the larger strategic
Absolutely.
picture.
And if I may, I think I'm going to contradict my own self by saying that when we look at these kind of pictures, what you're saying is that we need to look at the larger picture. We need to look at the big game, what is happening. I mean, these small little things.
The big game is very simple. Big game is very simple. USA has already said that we are going to degrade Russia, come what may.
Mm-hmm.
Russia cannot disengage from Ukraine. Russia is spending its military hardware there, ammunition. Every day it's firing. When you recoup ammunition, I mean, just to give you an idea, you're talking of, say, a normal missile system, cruise missile, which goes into crores of rupees. Yeah. You fire 2 crores missiles, you pooped off 60 crores rupees. I'm talking of rupees, so you look at it in dollars. It's not simple. Russia doesn't have that kind of a GDP. Russian GDP is just about $10 billion a year. I mean, 10 trillion.
10 trillion, sir.
Okay. So, it's not 10 trillion. Sorry, it's not 10 trillion. Much less. Just about 100. Look,
it's $180 billion, sir. Sorry, $180 billion.
Yeah, it's about 2 trillion, 1.8 to 2 trillion dollars.
Yeah, because they've got the total trade is much higher because of their oil and this and that, but the GDP is much lesser, of course.
They have problems. So let's not assume that Russia is going to suddenly flower out. They're fixed. There is North Atlantic consolidation. There's no expenditure of NATO. Yeah, Ukraine get destroyed. That's a different story. That is a ethical story. That's a thing. Geopolitics, as hard as it is, they've sacrificed Ukraine.
Yeah. Which can be seen now.
Yeah, which can be seen now. That is something else. But in terms of the overall geopolitics, they have caught that area completely.
So the plan, if I may, is to now, when I'm kind of going to mention this, I'm going to try and shift focus towards the east, is to fight the Russians with the last Ukrainians and to fight the Chinese with the last Taiwanese. And this is something that you wrote, sir. So
yeah, I agree with you completely. You see, already there are doubts in China as to how they'll get across the strait. I mean, we've been speaking about it. Now, Lloyd Austin has said we'll do whatever we have to do with Taiwan to help them. They have taken that one China policy out of all that. And then they're training Taiwan. And now, if Taiwan trains, see, many people don't know. The eastern side of Taiwan is a range of mountains whose highest is some 9,000 plus feet. Snow-clad mountains. It slopes down sharply to the sea on the west, the coast on the west. What I could gather from some of my interaction with the Taiwanese is that all the places where they could beach, where Chinese could beach during amphibious operations, have been urbanized. So they're going to land in those beaches which are totally urbanized. Okay. And we've all seen that during Ukraine war, all this business of communication, war, and all doesn't work. All the cyberspace business and all doesn't work. So you have to fire. Now, the moment you fire without landing, this chap can fire back. And then the set of preparations. It's not going to be easy at all for China. I mean, you can keep growling. China knows to growl. So it's not going to be easy. They're going to get hit. They're not going to look for वही कुंफू पांडा में ना, वो हाथ पकड़ लेता है और बोलता है स्कडूश. Same problem China might have with Taiwan. Okay, it gets caught, it might not get withdraw. If it doesn't withdraw, then what we discussed yesterday, then if one China comes in,
It's
the
anybody's
two
game.
parties, anybody's game.
I mean,
So, you know, the people don't look at it this way. If you look into the history of China, all these are there,
yeah,
are
as a
there
matter of fact, the
somewhere.
power taking was done exactly like this. It wasn't, I mean, the declaration of the Communist People's Republic of China was pretty much just
Yeah,
one
yeah,
fine
yeah.
day. It wasn't a,
It wasn't a one fine day affair like ये आज झंडा निकल गया कल धूप पर उठ गया.
so it was
It was a
basically
civil
a,
war. It was a civil war. What if this triggers into a civil war? If they go into China or rather Taiwan,
Taiwan.
and you find some part of China, China after all, the communists are also faction ridden. They don't agree, and some kind of a civil war starts.
Possibilities are there, sir. And of course, US
Look,
known
the
for doing all that.
possibility is there. The probability someone might say here is 0%. Hey, what is this general साहब saying? ये तो ऐसे बात कर
Hmm,
रहा है.
hmm.
That I agree. But don't look at it from our viewpoint. Look at it from the Chinese viewpoint. What will he think?
Hmm.
Look, when I go on the streets and interact with people in society, people ask me, General Saab, what if China attacks us tomorrow? Can we hold China? That scare is there, that China is a behemoth. Okay, look at it from the Chinese point of view. China also must be thinking something, no? What if we get stuck in Taiwan and it becomes into some problem and the communists lose power? वो तो गया Xi Jinping and gang. So there are issues which China which they put China in, and that too at a time when there's COVID going on and economy weak. You also have to understand the Pacific group of islands have said no, we will not let China set up a base here, right? South Korea and Japan are not happy with them. Amongst the ASEAN, there's a split.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, Philippines, which is one of the nearest neighbors, is not a fool to buy BrahMos systems. It's an indication that they are not for China.
Vietnam, Philippines. The list is endless.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
that
So there are a lot of problems.
Hmm. So let me just ask you this: when you push China into a corner, you get a military response. Pretty much in this arena of, I think the only place he couldn't militarily respond was Australia, Lithuania. Far away countries. He was not able to kind of push and give a military push to the entire thing. But with USA pushing the buttons towards Taiwan, you kind of see them pushing out into the military. What is it that the USA is looking for by doing this?
See, China is aggressive. Okay, there's no doubt. China is naturally aggressive because it's ambitious. It wants to displace USA as the number one superpower. It is seeking out bases. It is going out a lot of X, Y, Z. So it is that aggression at this point of time is controlled. What if there's a mistake? What if tomorrow, in all these flights which are taking place over Taiwan, there's a mishap and one flight goes awry, and he enters well into Taiwan airspace by mistake or by some fault, and he's shot. What happens then? See, that aggression then means, okay, someone will say, yeah, you lost a airplane over Taiwanese airspace. Why did he go there? He'll say, no, I didn't go there. It was shot in my area. If it is shot in your area, then he has to go for war.
And you're forced
Will he
to.
do it? He is. So that means what? USA is trying to get China into an indiscriminate move, indiscreet move. Would call it what you want. Okay. So not a measured move.
That seems to be very interesting, considering that there were two incidents regarding aircraft this particular week, wherein one Australian aircraft was shot by one of the Chinese
Yeah.
flankers, and one Canadian aircraft was literally pushed away from taking
So
some reconnaissance pictures.
So what happens? What happens if something a mishap of the other thing happens? Say a passenger,
Which has
aircraft.
happened before.
If a passenger aircraft goes down due to Chinese action, see the flip is also there. Then though the China is in a problem. China is in a major problem there. Diplomatically, there might not be war, but diplomatically there will be a problem. Everyone will hate China after that. You see, all what I'm saying is showing on ground. I mean, we are not talking in thin air. We're talking on actual incidents. Today, I saw in the news that the new Australian Prime Minister is taking this issue up with China in a strong manner.
Even the Canadians are, sir.
Canadians are. So, one or two incidents like this, if it goes bad, then what happens? So, where does it leave China? So, China is in a tricky situation. Should it be aggressive? Not aggressive. If it is aggressive, it might make a mistake. If it is not aggressive, तो दब गया.
So let me close this, and I'd like you to kind of give your tick mark of approval whether I've been able to understand the entire thing correctly. USA has got two adversaries which can get, one is a military superpower, one is going to be an economic superpower and a peer competitor, as the US calls it. So you've got the one guy stuck in Europe with the European Union, whatever ragtag army that they can put up with the support of the States, of course, creates a huge deterrence and pushing the Russians back. Of course, Russians have had one setback, and I take your point about Sweden and Finland. The whole idea of the Ukraine war was to push NATO away. Here, they've got it
They
back.
come close.
That's
not only come close back. Ukraine, whatever NATO has come to the Donbass line.
Yeah.
Right? NATO will support the Donbass line, and apart from Ukraine, they come to the north also. NATO has come on the borders, maritime borders in the north.
Yeah.
So instead of just in the south, NATO is on the north and south of, west of that western line of Russia.
So the Russians are going to be kind of westward focused towards Europe, mostly. Tactical movements in the Arctic, in the North Seas, probably the Baltic, and the Mediterranean in the South, Black Sea area, and all that stuff. And this stuff is going to go on. It's going to drag on for a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to drag on for 4-5 years.
Yeah, even if the negotiations start today, it's going to take a month or two.
Yeah, no, month or two is very distinct. Another 3 to 4 years, it will go nowhere.
Yeah. I'm just saying that negotiations will take a month or two before implementation and so on and so forth. It just So, and then you've got the East, where you've got NATO, the Quad, you've got the AUKUS, which is going to come up in the future and stuff like that. And you've got the RIMPAC coming up at the end of this month. So sending a message.
You have RIMPAC, you have AUKUS, you have IPEF, you have Indo-Pacific Maritime Domain Awareness, which is intelligence sharing. So X, Y, Z, you add all that. Plus the alliances and alliance treaties between South Korea and USA, Japan and USA, Australia and USA, Philippines. All that, Malaysia.
Japanese commitment to Taiwan.
Yeah, all that. All those are there.
So you've got two of these power centers. Basically, at the center, you've got the USA dancing between, the other, and he's got people doing his work for him. And that's what I look at, what you've
and today his concentration is China. Clear. The weight has shifted to China in the past 15-20 days.
Absolutely.
Ever since that Quad summit, the weight is on China. Okay, so that is what it is.
And I think I'd like to mention here the op-ed that was written by Joe Biden or somebody representing Joe Biden, whatever, in the Washington Post, which talks, or New York Times, I'm sorry, talks about bringing Russia a certain amount of pain. So that kind of, brings it
Yeah,
out. I
it's
think
there.
the other way around as well, bringing China some pain is also going to be,
No, it's there. It's happening.
yeah.
It's happening. Look, there's in the past 100 days, what has happened? Prior to this Russian invasion of Ukraine, economy ruled. If you were economically great, everything was fine. Now you need a strong military to become a superpower and to be, to be heard. You saw in the past 100 days, no one bothered about China and no one listened to China. China couldn't talk. Why? India with no thing could talk more. Okay, India could talk more and be heard more than China in all forums. You might agree with it, not agree with it, but it's a fact. Decisions were taken without China. So relevance of China and the overall global leadership came to question. Now their COVID is coming into question. Now they have an internal problem. And then all these fellows are at their doorstep saying, "Hey, bhai, Taiwan ko touch karo, hum sort out karenge aapko." So where does it leave China?
Interesting. Of course, a lot of people can poke holes with regards to very tactical issues of sanctions not working, inflation high in USA, and this and that. These are all part of the game, which I think the USA in the larger picture would be willing to take on and sacrifice even, if required be, for its own survival. And that's something I think I would understand. You would, I mean, it's your survival at the end of it. There's nothing more one can say to explain that. Sir,
Yeah, I
amazing
agree with
theory.
you.
I think we need to, dwell upon it. But the thing that, as I mentioned in my last episode with regards to China, so this is something, the first part of it. What we need to really dwell upon is the sweet spot that India finds itself into,
Yeah,
and that's
we
something
should
we should
we
look
could
at.
do it. Yeah, maybe in the
Absolutely,
next episode.
yes, sir. So I request all the users to, keep sweating for the India's role. I think a lot of us will be interested in that more than the USA part of it, of course. But an interesting story panning out in front. A hot war in Europe and a brewing conflict in Southeast Asia. What's going to happen is anybody's guess, but that's the larger strategy. Till next time, sir. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Thank you.